thanks for tuning into my channel today. Today I'm going to do a short little video on how to change out your stock seat on your Himiway cruiser, or even if you have the step through. They're basically the same seat. Now, of course, these bikes are super expensive, and one of the ways to keep the price down is they got a little cheap out on some of the accessories. And of course, one of the main accessories there is your bike seat. This seat, while it does its job, if you've ridden for any more than 10 or 15 miles, you're going to notice that your keister might tend to get a little bit of sore. I think that's one of the #1 complaints that I've seen, and that's one of my complaints too after riding the bike for a little while, that my undercarriage, guys, you probably know what I mean, our undercarriage gets a little numb after a while. There's not a lot of shock absorption in the stock seat. So one of the things you can do is go ahead and change out that seat for something that's a little bit more comfortable. I personally have already changed my seat out on my cruiser. My wife wanted to hold out a little bit longer. She wanted to make sure that, it was a really needed necessity. And not too long ago, we did a 20-mile ride or so, and she's like, yeah, I think it's time that I change the seat. If you go to Amazon, there's a ton of different manufacturers that make a lot of different seats, and the prices kind of range all over the place. But if you're like me, and maybe the majority of you are just kind of like street cruisers, kind of the casual rider, if you will, you can find a decent seat around $30 or $40. And one of the more popular brands is Cloud9. And just so happens here today, we are going to go ahead and install this Cloud9 seat here. One of the things I like about it, it's about $30 on Amazon, and it's just enough comfort there. There's 2 layers of gel underneath here, and of course covered with this like weatherproof or waterproof vinyl, if you will. There is a spring mechanism underneath here to also help with the absorption, and it's got a universal mount. However, we're going to take part of this mount off here, and I will show you why here in just a few seconds. So, of course, my wife is 5'5", and already the step throughs, you can see over my shoulder, the seat is at one of the lowest positions that it can possibly be on for her to get on. Unfortunately, though, we're going to have to raise the seat an inch or two, and that's because in addition to the seat, I went ahead and purchased her a little stock shock absorber, if you will. And what this is, the seat will mount right here on the rails. I'll show you that in a few minutes. But basically, there's a little shock absorber. This is, a spring is in about 80% of this. There's a little rubber stopper down here at the bottom part. And right here we have a screw, if you will. I think it takes an Allen wrench. You can tighten it or loosen it to give a little bit more give or less give. This is a traveling suspension. When you sit on it, it's going to compress. That spring inside is going to alleviate a lot of those bumps. The good news is too, now these wildly change in swing and price. You can find some really cheap ones on Amazon for about $30, and I was actually really shocked to find other shock absorbers like this that are over $100, and some that were even close to $175. But for our uses here, again, we ride 15 miles, 20 miles here and there, basically on paved ground most of the time. I think this one and I'll include the link down for both the seat and this shock absorber in the description of the video below. This was right around $30, but here's one key component that you have to know in ordering these. You have to purchase one with a 30.4 millimeter shim, and that is this. By itself, when we try to mount it into the bike itself, where the seat post is there's going to be a lot of room. So there are different sizes of these, and they come with different size shims. You want the 30.4 millimeter shim. So without further ado, let's go ahead and remove the seat, and I'll show you what that's all about. Okay, here's a close-up of the seat as it currently sits now on my wife's bike. We're going to go ahead and release the clamp here and pull out the seat along with its post. And one thing I want to show you, and I don't know if it's going to show up here, but most seats, yeah, I don't think it is because it's very hard to see this black, but right where my finger is right here, there is a little bit of an engraving that says 30.4 millimeters. And there is a reason for that. That is the size of this post, the diameter of the post, and that's why we want that shim to go in there. So let me go grab that shim and I'll show you what that's like. Okay, I'm back with that shim, and as you can see right here, it says 27.2 to 30.4 millimeters. That's really important. Again, I cannot stress how important this shim is. So there's not much work here. Step one, all we're going to do is put that shim right into the hole, and that's pretty much it. At this point now, we can go ahead and get our seat post and our seat and go ahead and get ready for assembly. Now, one of the reasons why I'm getting a seat post, one of the complaints too that a lot of people, Himiway, have said is even if they purchase a new seat, this universal bracket, if you will, that comes with the Himiway bike, it's very hard to get the rails to sit in these channels here on the stocks post from ProMax. Now, a lot of people have said, hey, you can go ahead and stretch it out. If you have some C-clamps, you can kind of squeeze it in. I'm a pretty big guy, and even using my strength with the Cloud 9 seat, I had a very tough time squeezing this in to get into these channels. Fortunately, the seat post that I'm going to put in with the shock absorption, also the channels is a little bit easier to put this in. So we'll talk about that in a second. All right, in this next step here, you can see that I have removed the seat from its packaging, a couple of zip ties that were holding it onto that cardboard, and turned the seat over. Here you can see some construction. This is a very hard plastic here. There is a little bit of foam underneath, but this vinyl is just basically stapled on in a roundabout way here. But for our purposes today, we want to take off this universal seat post coupler. In a lot of different bikes or older bikes that have a skinnier seat post, you're going to want to keep this on, and this is just the seat post is going to go in here. But because we are using this shock absorbing seat post today, we have to go ahead and take this off. So one tool that you might want to have is a little handy dandy wrench, because you're going to want to go ahead and loosen up these nuts on either side here, and I've already kind of pre-done that. So I'm just going to go ahead and unscrew. You're just going to pull all this out as such. And it's up to you if you want to keep these just in case you want to change the seat post another day or go ahead and sell this. But at this point now, we are ready to go ahead and put on our more upgraded seat post, if you will. All right, our next step now is we're going to go ahead and prepare our new seat post to receive the rails here. And one of the first things we're going to have to do is loosen this bracket here. And the way to do that is underneath we have these two bolts, if you will. That takes a 5mm Allen wrench, so hence I have another tool out here. And the next thing we're going to do is just insert our Allen wrench in, and we are going to go ahead and loosen these up as such until our bracket is ready to come loose. As you can see here, it's already loosening up pretty nice. We're going to go ahead and take that off camera, and then we'll go to the next step of putting it on the bike seat. All right, we're in the home stretch here. I've went ahead and finagled that bracket over the rails there. It's fitting nicely into those channels, but notice I have not tightened it up yet. There's a reason for that. There's two adjustments you're still going to have to make, and that's totally personal preference. It's how far the seat is going to tilt, if you will, and how far back or front the seat is going to go. Notice that on the rails, this is going to float because I haven't tightened it down. You'll also notice here, and I'll try to get the angle here a little bit tilted on its side. This seat, there's some grooves, if you will, on the underside of this bracket, and what that's going to allow you to do is adjust how far or how the angle of the seat is going to be. You could have it straight up, or you can kind of rotate it down a little bit. And of course, when you're sitting on the bike, that's going to more or less dictate how, if the seat is a little bit up or a little bit, you're going to have to adjust it yourself. I know for me, being a guy, I like it a little bit lower because I don't want that top part of the saddle, if you will, the front part of the saddle, that is, pressing up against my undercarriage there. Guys, again, you'll know what I'm talking about. But so I like mine a little bit flatter, if you will. And that's all going to be done there. So don't worry if it takes you a couple of attempts to go ahead and find the correct seating position for you. And once you are happy with it, though, you're going to go ahead and tighten it down. All right, as our final step, I'm going to go ahead and insert my seat into its post. Remember, we do have that shim in there. Notice right now, as I push it down, it is going to stop right here. I do have a little bit of give here. I might have to have my wife obviously sit on this and adjust it to her liking. But at the end, we're just going to go ahead and tighten this up. We're going to move this clamp back into place, and that seat is not moving anywhere. Now, just looking at this right now until she sits on it herself, it's a little flat. That might be a little bit too much forward for her. So again, you're going to want to adjust those by loosening up the two screws up underneath, and you can kind of rotate the seat both back and forth on the rail and kind of adjust the angle a little bit. Also remember too, on the give and take, there is that screw at the bottom of that post. If you want to tighten it up for less give, you're going to go ahead and turn it to the right. And if you want a little bit more give, you're going to turn it to the left. But of course, you're going to do that incrementally until you find the sweet spot for you. Okay, and we're back, and that was pretty much it, guys. I probably did more talking, the backstory and introduction here, and talking about tools than it actually took me to change out that seat. From start to finish, it took me, 7 or 8 minutes to do all that. Of course, there's going to be some final adjustments there depending when my wife goes ahead and decides whether she wants the saddle tilted up a little bit or she likes that flat. And of course, we'll make some adjustments of how much give is that seat post is going to be. But again, you can find that seat and that seat post links for Amazon in the description below. I don't get any endorsement from any of these companies. There's plenty of other ones out there that I'm sure are just as fine, if not better. But for the price point, and again, as I said earlier, we are just casual riders. There are probably products out there that you can overspend on and get negligible improvements, if you will. But for $30 for the post and $30 for the seat, I guarantee you after 15 or 20 miles, your bum is gonna thank you for that. So anyway, my name is Jason. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, be safe out there and have a lot of fun out on the trails.